That's a good one. That's fun.
He interrupted me.
I thought it was like I said, touching the gray. I thought that's what we was
No,
doing.
you took it to. I wasn't gonna tell people. No, you telling people that you know.
You ain't even let me finish. So I was trying to say, if you got diabetes, you won't take your behind to the doctor to figure it
But
out.
some black people don't. That's what I was trying to get at.
But
Black
see,
people try to solve things on their own.
you're right, and I guess that's all right. Well,
So you let you led it to what I wasn't. I didn't want it to do that because black people
what?
don't go to the doctor.
What did I do?
Black people don't go
I
to the
let it
doctor.
to you wanted to do that.
Yeah, you didn't give a good example.
Oh, y'all married.
I thought it was.
What's up, everybody? This is Ricky B, and welcome to another episode of Turn to Your Neighbor, the show where me and my very good friends invite you into some of our most intimate and sometimes ridiculous conversations and debates. And today is a very special episode for me. I have two of my favorite people, one of my favorite couples in the whole entire world, Tyreek and Alexis Bowie. All right. Now, both Tyreek and Alexis have been guests here on the show before, but if you're not familiar with them, let me take this moment to hype my friends up just a little bit. Now, Tyreek has his bachelor's degree in psychology and his master's degree in clinical psychology. He is now currently a trauma-focused, family-based clinician. And his wife, Alexis, my friend, also has a bachelor's degree in psychology, a master's degree in community psychology and social change, and she is also a family-based clinician. Now, I asked Tyreek and Alexis to join me on this episode because I want to talk about a topic that has been in the news recently. Now, in our hometown, Philadelphia, Mr. Walter Wallace Jr., a Black male, was murdered by the police. Now, there are a lot of hot topics and flags with this whole case, but the one focus I want to focus on today is the issue of mental health. Mr. Walter Wallace Jr. was known for battling and struggling with mental health issues. And because Alexis and Tyreek deal with people battling mental health issues on a daily basis, I thought it would be perfect to have them join me for this show. So without further ado, my name is Ricky. This is Turn to Your Neighbor. And today we're talking about mental health. Let's go. All right, so Alexis, Tyreek, did I do your intro justice? Was that cool?
Yeah, I mean, it was good. I mean, you said she was your.
I mean, she is my friend.
But that's what you made sure.
You're my brother, though. You're my brother. All right, I'm glad I got it right. But for people who don't know, because I know, of course I know, but what is a trauma-focused, family-based clinician? Because I know what it is, but for people who don't know, can you explain that to them?
It's a long title, obviously. It's a lot of words.
Right.
Basically, it is a very focused lens used to help families. And we do family-based, which is predominantly just family therapy, but we're specified in helping specific traumas and making sure that we attack or address the trauma within the family context.
Okay, so does that make you a therapist or a psychologist, or what do you call yourself?
Just a mental health professional. Okay. I don't have no license and nothing like that, so I don't got no letters besides a master's at the end of my name.
Okay, so not yet.
Not yet.
All right, Alexis, you kind of similar, same boat?
Same thing, therapist.
Okay, so you actually need to go to school and to become a psychologist. You need to do more schooling for that to get that title.
For a psychologist, you need a doctorate's degree, so a PhD.
Okay,
that'll be the next level.
So there is levels to this.
Oh, there's levels. There's levels. we about a level 2.
Yeah, but basically.
Did you guys always know that you wanted to be in a mental health? Say that again.
I said you gotta go up to make some money.
Yeah, that's for sure. That's for sure. Did you guys know that you always wanted to be in a mental health profession?
No,
No.
absolutely not.
What made you go into this
I
field?
really wanted to be a rapper.
Oh, bars. I heard your bars, so I can co-sign on that one.
I feel like that's my calling.
Oh,
But
calling.
I feel like I'm taking the mental health route to get there. So
Okay.
Oh, journey.
hey, Ty!
What made y'all jump down the mental health road?
Well, I knew I always wanted to be a therapist. Um, in high school, they had an opportunity to take some college courses, and I took I took psychology 101, obviously, and I was like, oh, I like this. But I had already known I wanted to be in the field, just because it very much is. It goes along with how I think anyway, and so it was easier than it was more natural. Is probably what I'm saying. Um, so I always known I wanted to be a therapist. I don't know about this rapping, but I guess we got to talk about that off camera. Got bills.
I've always known I wanted to study psychology, the study of the mind. Um, and so I did that as a bachelor's degree. And then as the master's for community psychology, I've always loved people watching. I've loved
Stalker.
behaviorism, not being a stalker.
Just
I've
a bit.
loved just um societies, familial, like village type settings. Not so much as the mental health side of things, but unfortunately, um, with the job careers and different things, there's not a lot that you can do with a master's as far as the research is involved. So that's how I sort of fell into more of the behavioral health side. But my passion as far as psychology is concerned is really just the research and the studying of behaviors, why people do what they do, and how that affects the community as a whole.
Okay. Yeah, no, I definitely think you guys are walking in your purpose because I have been on the couch with you two at different times in my life. So I definitely feel that you are walking in your purpose. I actually believe that God has a purpose for all of us. So my question is, before you decided to make this career move, how do you feel that God has prepared you for this moment anyway? Like, what experience do you feel like God has put you in that prepared you to be where you are today?
I feel like I've fought tooth and nail to get away from this. Um, I've tried different routes. I've tried the criminal justice route, with going more into the multi-systemic therapy. But for some reason, I've ended up in mental health, and God really, I feel as though, truly put me here, um, so that I can grow, and so that some of the generational traumas and some of the stigmas that's affecting the community today, I feel as though with my voice, my personality, I really can take that the forefront and break down some of those stigmas and reach people who look like me, who may feel as though ain't nobody got time for no mental health issues.
Mhm.
Or they may not feel comfortable sitting on a couch, somewhere talking to someone. They want someone to be real with them, down to earth with them, and just let them know that you're gonna make it through. You are gonna make it through this, and there are resources and there's people to help you, and I'm one of them.
All right. What about you, Boo?
Me, um, I remember being in church one day, and I was sitting there listening to the pastor, and he was talking about family and how the family was God's first institution type of deal, like the man and woman, and then the kids, and how he wanted that to look. And then I remember sitting there saying, like, I wonder if because of how the family is, that's the reason all this nonsense is going on in the world. So then I was like, oh, okay. Constantly thinking. Then obviously, I took that psych course in undergrad. But something else that impacted my decision was I went to mostly Christian schools up until high school, and then when I went to high school, it was a completely different field and different world. It was like, oh, people out here really just don't like God and Jesus. Not everybody is about that. And I remember a particular teacher, and he really challenged me. He challenged my thinking. And while he was challenging me, I was thinking, what made you take this route? how is it that I'm over here and you're over there? Like, why is that a thing? So that also fueled my wanting to dig deeper into people, not necessarily why they do their behaviors, but wanting to get an understanding around the experiences that may have caused them to do said behaviors. So I think that that's why for us, yes, we're in the psychology field, but our focuses are different because she doesn't necessarily care why you do your things that you do. She just want to see them. And
You
then,
make that sound so harsh.
I mean, all right, well, that wasn't what I meant.
What did you mean? Because I was a little
I,
confused.
I meant like she'll study the behaviors that you do. And my goal is to, why did you do said behavior?
You want the root
I
of
want
it.
the root of why you did the behavior. She is just saying you did this behavior and so did, and correct me if I'm wrong, so did B, and so did C, and so did E and F, and all the letters. Y'all do the same behaviors, and then look at that on a macro level. So on a
Yes.
societal level, why are these people in this area doing these behaviors? Is it a societal thing? And for me, I'm like individual, I guess is what I'm trying to say. Individual in the root of the behavior. So
Yes.
like I said, I did always know I wanted to be in psychology, but being in church and having an eye-opening experience in high school was something that kind of definitely solidified, like, okay, I want to figure this out more.
Okay. So you're a household of three now, new baby
Yes.
boy.
Gotta keep it down.
Right.
Sleep.
So before he makes his career decision, it's the two of you, two psychologists in one house. How does that work in your relationship? Do you guys put each other on the couch? Are you guys expert conflict management people?
Yeah.
Let him get his
Absolutely
question out.
not.
Let him get
Sorry,
his
finish your
question out. Like,
question.
No, I mean we're here. How do you guys? How is there a pressure? We're both being in the psych field, and there's a pressure to handle your relationship a certain way.
I think people who know that we are therapists and know people from the outside looking in probably expect us to be these great communicators and that it's like sunshines and roses over here and we're all the feel goods. But people who know us, they know that just because we're therapists, we're still human. We struggle with um, conflict resolution at times, and we've been together for 13 years. So we've seen a lot of we've been through a lot of different stages in life that we've had to sort of talk about and navigate together and figure out together. Um, and we're both, because we are both therapists, a lot of the times we feel as though we are right and our thinking is right. And sometimes we read into why the other person did what they did, and we're totally off. Um, so it can be a struggle at times because it can sort of be a battle of who is right and not what is right.
Yeah, I can definitely relate to that. As a teacher, we make horrible students. We always think we know something. We're like, he's not even doing it right. Just get to the point. We don't let the person get through their lesson, but we want everyone to listen to our lesson. So I definitely understand how that could be. What about you, Bowie? How's it?
and it, I honestly, I think we're good communicators.
Okay.
Communicate our internal experience really well, but how that turns into a result, that's struggles. That's struggling, real struggling over here in our household sometimes.
Like what? Like what kind of stuff?
So like we are both naturally fillers, like
Mhm.
feel things, and we both um yeah, so we like she's an emotional person, I can be an emotional person, and I think I am. And sometimes it's just whose emotions win that day, and
Who's
some
emotions usually win?
huh?
Who's emotions usually win?
Huh?
Hey, listen, you my bro, so we just gonna
Who,
move.
who emotions normally win? Tell the people.
All right, so for people who don't know, how did you guys meet? Alexis said you guys been together for 13 years. What's the story
She
behind
was
that?
struggling. She was struggling in the class.
You ain't gotta tell my
She
business.
was
Was this
struggling
a
in
psych class?
I was a freshman.
No, it wasn't even a psych class. It was a bio class.
Exactly. Not my purpose.
She would tell you I stalked her and was like, we were in the lecture hall, and I think I noticed you in that class first,
Okay,
and
noted.
then out like somewhere on campus, and then um she would tell you that I was sort of sitting catty corner in the lecture hall, just keep my eye on her. I mean, for me, the leg room was real struggling in there, so I needed some leg room.
Your neck needed leg room. Your neck.
Listen, this is my story. So see, results and emotions. So I needed to look at the board. So I had to turn and look at the board.
I was in the back of the class.
You was not in the back. You was in struggling with everybody else.
But not the front where the board was.
That's why you was failing.
So you noticed her, and she noticed you noticing her. Then what?
Yeah, she think I was talking her, but yeah. So then I became her tutor. I was like, "Yo, you need some help on this human bio?" And she was like, "Yeah."
Okay.
No,
tutor.
it was real. She had a whole what was it? The fireside. What was in the Luzerne? Yeah, the fireside lounge. We had a little tutoring session there, but she wasn't focused. She wasn't. You was not.
I bet she wasn't.
You was not. But I did help her get a C. So
you don't gotta tell my grades. You know what? I got the degree. It don't matter.
Exactly.
Y'all made it. All right. Lex, is that pretty accurate?
No.
What's your side? What's your side of the story?
He was a stalker. I was supposed to be introducing him to one of my friends.
Okay.
And so that's why maybe while he was tutoring me, I was thinking of how can I slide this in and find out, get the tea from a friend. But then he said he was interested in me, and I was like, "Whoa, hold up now, sir."
You said that first tutoring session?
No, probably like the third.
Okay.
Wait very long. He was very pushy. He didn't wait very long. But then after that, I don't know. Somehow I got stuck with Bull. 13 years.
Now we're here.
Whatever. You ain't stuck.
No, man. Y'all married. Y'all stuck. Yes. All right. So now I want to move on to the Walter Wallace Jr. case. All right. Now it's been all over the news. It was a couple of days ago, so it's still really fresh. Someone actually recorded the whole thing from their car. At first, when I saw it on Instagram, I was like, I'm not watching this. Didn't know it was from Philly. I just saw like the explicit content, and I saw black. I was like, you know what? I don't need another image in my head. But then I heard it was in Philly, and then I was getting text because my job is 2 minutes from where it happened at. So I was like, okay, now my kids might see, so I need to be knowledgeable of what's happening. So I watched the video, very sad, but he did have a knife, right? And it was, I think, 2 cops pulled guns on him, 14 shots were fired. And I believe the family called the police because they say he was dealing with mental health issues. And I just found out today that the cops were there a couple of days prior as well, dealing with the mental health issues. So they were familiar with him and the family already. So with all that being said, what was your whole reaction to what happened?
I was unfortunately not surprised. I guess with everything going on, I felt somewhat numb to it, which I guess on a larger scale of the conversation that we had, that just goes to prove that this can't keep happening. When now another man is shot dead and you feel numb. So I guess that was the biggest emotion that came over me, was a feeling of numbness.
Yeah, I totally understand.
For me, I kind of did the same thing you did, Rick. I scrolled past. I was like, I can't. um, in just another situation like this. Um, but I realized it was from Philly, so then I was like, kind of felt like you. I got to figure it out and be knowledgeable of what's going on. And then immediately I got upset. I really did. I got upset because of the mental health aspect of the situation.
Mm.
Something that obviously I'm in the field. So it's like, well, you begin to ask questions. They could have done this. Why didn't they do this? Did they try this? And all the things, questions start popping in your head. And then I started thinking of the other instances that I've come across on Instagram of up in New York. A man was killed and he was having a mental health breakdown and he was killed as well. And then I thought about how I saw a video of a white young man having a mental health breakdown and he lived. So it just really sat with me and made me upset. It made me angry. And, you know, which is unfortunately something that seems to be happening happening a lot in today's society. But that was my initial feeling, was anger.
Yeah, when I see stuff like that, I know that the perception, right or wrong, definitely wrong, but the perception of black people, especially black men, they're more dangerous than any other race. So like there's more fear that comes with just being a black man. So now you have a black man with that level of fear, and then he's having a mental health issue. So you're also worried, like, I don't know what he's going to do type thing. Um, but it just adds on to like a bad situation.
Mhm.
What do you think? Why do you think it's so important for the police and maybe just the general public to be more familiar with mental health issues? And like, why don't we talk about it? Why don't you think we talk about it as much as we need to?
Well, the black people don't talk about it because we got Jesus.
Mm,
They don't go sit and talk to anybody because the Lord's going to see me through.
mm,
And it was interesting because I remember being an undergrad and I was having conversations with, I don't think you were there for this one, but some of the people in our group. And we were talking about what we wanted to do after school. And I was like, I want to open up my own practice. And I remember having a conversation and saying, yeah, probably a lot of my clients will be white. And one of our friends was like, why you say that? And she was like, I mean, I don't see why black people wouldn't be in your practice. What you saying? You just want to work with white people? I said, no, that's not what I'm saying at all. I just know black people will go to church before they go to therapy. And I think that that's unfortunate because I think it's twofold. You should rest your promises in Jesus and God and that he'll help you, but you also have to do your part. And I think that it's important for our community to have these conversations and in some ways put labels to what you're feeling and put labels to what's going on so that you understand when I'm experiencing this, this is something that can help that. And I think that that's probably why in our community, when we um, have a feeling or have someone that's having a mental health breakdown, we don't know what to do because we haven't been given the language around what's happening to then look for the necessary help. I think that that's probably a big thing in our community, and I think it's just necessary for everyone to just be informed and aware of what's going on um, in this realm because it looks different for each person, but at the very least, I think everyone in that situation they need help, and if you can't get the proper help, then that's a larger problem on a different issue.
yeah, me and my dad and I were talking the other day, and he said, you can't overcome something until you confront it, but you can't confront something until you address it.
Hmm.
So I feel like sometimes we don't address the right thing.
Hmm.
Mhm.
And then if we don't address it, we're trying to fix all these other things, but we're not addressing what the real issue is. And then if
Hmm.
Mhm.
we can't address it, then we're not confronting it and trying to see what's going on. And then we will never overcome it unless we can do those first two things. So I like how you said that. That's very
Yeah,
important.
sometimes you use the wrong tools for the wrong problem because you
Right.
don't have the right label to it.
Yeah.
If you put the right label to it, then you can use the right tools to hopefully help you through the problem. And
Yeah.
that's when it comes to mental health. That's definitely it lacks in the black community.
I think when it comes to mental health, in the Black community specifically, Um, it comes with now an open door to resources, also with the normalization and the discussion around mental health in the Black community. Um, I do agree with my husband that um, religion has somewhat, or the misinterpretation of religion has somewhat stifled the Black community. But I also think that it's about privilege, power and privilege. It was a luxury to be able to take time out of a day to sit down with a therapist and talk about feelings, especially when for so long as Black people, Black women more specifically, and Black men as well. Black men definitely, you're always told don't have no feelings. The only feeling you're really allowed to express is anger. Other than that, shut up. And for Black women, you can express anger and sorrow. You can be sad for everybody else being so angry, and then you can be angry about being so sad. Um, but other than that, it definitely, mental health when it was first created was definitely a luxury. Um, to be able, like I said, to be able just to go, to have to go out of your home first of all, go sit with someone, and then air your dirty
We
laundry.
didn't have time for that. We ain't have time
Like,
for that. Like,
no, nobody, you ain't got time for that.
yeah.
So you better, if anything, pray about it. And if you really, if that's not resolved, put it in a journal and shove it under your mattress and then get over it. Um,
Wow. That's so
and so I think as a Black community, we're just now
Mhm.
addressing and awakening to the fact that this is something that is a necessity, because even on Maslow's hierarchy of
Yeah.
needs, you need to eat, you need shelter, you need air, and you need to be safe. Self actualization, or thinking of the mind, that's all the way at the top. So if you can make it through all these other levels and layers, then you can start focusing on your mental health. And unfortunately, a lot of Black people, especially the Black people in Philadelphia, living within the inner city, living within the poverty lines, you ain't got no time to be making it up to no sitting down and talking about no feelings. We got to figure out how we eating, how food get on the table tomorrow.
Mhm.
There's no time to talk about, well, especially generational trauma. So to take it back, we ain't got time to talk about that. So I mean, I think that it's a new day and it's a new era for Black people in the mental health realm to be able to sit down and talk about feelings and look at it as a priority.
Mhm.
It is a priority. It is just as important as you working on your six pack. It's just as important as you
Getting them bundles. I mean, let's be real. Sometimes I ain't worried about how I feel because honestly, I mean, I said it to be funny,
well, tell me about
but
these bundles.
I said it to be funny, but in the Black community, as long as you look good on the outside, you ain't got to just
Right.
what you look like, what you feel like on the inside.
That
So
is correct.
yeah, so as long as I'm getting these bundles and I got
Never look how you feel.
yes, exactly. You never
I've
look
been told that all the time. Yeah.
right. So, but that's that's not helping. That's not helping us
Bunch
at all.
of hiding and suppressing,
It's
right?
exactly. It's
It's a
continued.
mask.
It's a definitely a mask, but it's a mask that's been handed down from generations. And generational trauma, like you said, is something that is riddled throughout the Black community. And you
Mm-hmm.
said it's a luxury to address your feelings. Yep, it
Mm-hmm.
sure is, because you know when you was on that plantation, you couldn't talk about no feelings because you had to get back out there on the field. And when you was on that plant, when you was running from that plantation, we can't talk about or think about how sad you are that you had to leave what you knew back at the plantation, or family, friends, or whomever back there, because we got to be safe. So I think that that mindset is something that has been passed down, and like you said, is just now becoming okay to at least think about the fact that you
Mm-hmm.
have a mental health issue, not even, talk about it or seek help. That's, I mean, that's coming up as well.
Or
But
even to admit that that's what it is.
yeah,
Because even I know, even while we were in school, we were talking about the stigmatization of mental health. To even say, oh, I suffer from depression, or I suffer from anxiety, or I suffer from um whatever it may be, even that was seen as a level of failure, that you failed in some way, shape, or form.
Or you're
Um,
weak.
and I will say, now Gen Z, Generation Z, I got a lot of beef with y'all, but I will say you guys are the generation to normalize mental health issues because we see a lot of Gen Z say they just, I'm depressed, I'm anxious, and here's why. And to be able to talk about those feelings, I definitely think, this generation, they brought a lot into the world, but that's one thing that I do appreciate them for is being able to destigmatize it and saying that, a lot of people suffer with this, but not a lot of people are able to put a name to it. And so you call it something else
Yeah.
and you try to self medicate rather than seeking out the proper care for it. So,
Yeah. So how do people go about seeking the proper care for it? Like, a lot of people don't have time, like we talked about, or, might not be know where to go, right? Because they've never been introduced to it from, parents, family members. How does someone go about seeking the help they might need?
well, I would say one of the fastest ways that I can think of, I know that insurance is, well, at least it was mandatory for a lot of people, whether it's through Obamacare, which may be buying a Trump care come next week. I don't know. Um, but I know that it was mandatory. But if you call your insurance company and you let them know, hey, I'm seeking outpatient therapy first and foremost, could you please give me some numbers? Your insurance company would have all of that information because they'll be the ones paying for the service. So they have all of that information. If you look on the back of your insurance card, or if you Google, everybody got a smartphone nowadays, Google your insurance company customer care service, they'll give you access to all of those resources.
Okay. Are there options for people who don't have insurance?
There's an option for Black men. It's called, I believe it's Black Men Heal, and it's a free,
I've heard of that.
yeah, it's free mental health treatment for Black men. Um, and I'm sure that if a woman wanted to go there, they would. If they didn't, if they their goal is not to serve as women, they would definitely point you in the right direction. But that's free,
Okay.
and it's based right here in Philly. So
Okay.
blackmen.com, I think it is, or try both. I don't know.
Okay. Good. Thanks for sharing that. I know a lot of people might need to hear that.
Mhm.
So going back to the incident, what do you think? Because there's a lot of opinions going on, especially because the fact that he had a knife, right? What do you think the police could have done differently, or even the family? What do you think could have been done differently to prevent another death?
So I do think that if obviously we talked about stigma in the Black community and things like that, but if the family had the proper awareness or knowledge around the resources available, or where to not to say they can't call the police, but if they were to possibly know, okay, these people do better in this situation, then maybe they could have called them. But honestly, with our in our field and what we do specifically, there's an aspect of our job is being on call. So the phone, the on-call phone is rotated throughout everyone in the department. And its purpose is that if after hours you can't get a hold of your therapist and you're in a mental health breakdown, you can call this number and get somebody that will be able to help you. And if you need it, if need be, we would go out to the home. So there's been many a situation that I went to and I have nothing but a cell phone and Jesus. That's all I had. um, and not knowing what I was walking into, not knowing the level of distress the person I was trying to help was in, there is a fear there, like what's going to happen. I have a family to get home to, but you use your words. Like I had to use my words. That was my weapon. I didn't have a gun. I didn't have a taser. I didn't have anything else to protect myself besides being able to de-escalate the situation. And I honestly think that if although I know he had a knife, I feel that if this was a home that the police were, had frequented because of his mental health issues, then there should have been something else done or another precaution that have that should have taken place to address his situation, which was mental health.
Yeah.
Not just police officers coming to, I don't know how tall the young man was. I think he was 6 foot.
I'm not sure. He looked
I'm
pretty
not sure
tall.
how tall he was, but like you said, the stigma around a black man is that we're dangerous, and he's in a mental health breakdown, and he has a knife. So he already looks big and scary. So why send police officers there that don't have the tools or possibly don't have the tools to de-escalate the situation?
Yeah, I love how you said the word tools again.
Yeah.
Um, I heard something. I think it was Lamont Hill. I think he said, if your only tool is a hammer, you're going to treat everything like a nail.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, what are we equipping our first responders with, right? So,
Right.
as you said, you go to situations and you have your cell phone, Jesus, and the power of the words that
Mm-hmm.
you have, right? The power of your tongue, and you have to use that. Um, but if you always given, if your only tool is a hammer, you're going to treat everything like a nail. And I heard in another report, the commissioner said that they didn't have any. I've heard like, why don't you tase them? Or there's other things you could have done. The commissioner said those two officers they didn't have tasers on them. It's not a every officer doesn't carry a taser. Whether and she said she's trying to get more funding, so that is a thing. But it's just
Mm-hmm.
yeah, like if that's all you have and you're scared and you're not equipped or trained to do anything else, which is a whole nother thing, then if that's probably what's going to happen.
It's interesting because in at my job, since when George Floyd was killed, my agency, the agency I work for, decided to take an initiative and sort of have a really direct conversation and maybe some trainings around racism and what that looks like, and talking about the experience of Black people in the workplace and the experience of Black people out in the community. And I'm a part of one of the or two of the groups that is the goal of it is to help our department specifically to help new people that come in understand that when you go to these homes, that if your race is different, how you might have to approach a situation, maybe be more aware of your own internal biases and things like that. And I honestly think that there should be more done, not just with the police department but in general, but obviously with the police department specifically, um, around what are your thoughts around Black people, what are your thoughts around Black men, um, how do you feel? How does that make you feel to be in a situation with a Black man? Do you instantly feel threatened? Do you instantly feel afraid? Because I think that that plays more into what took place than them having a gun or a taser. I think if they had a taser, that I mean, prayerfully the gentleman would have lived. But if they tackle their perception of the Black man, if they tackle their perception of Black people, then it's possible nothing could have been drawn. You may have been able to have a conversation and feel comfortable. Um, and I think that that is a bigger issue in a societal. It's being living in America. How are Black people portrayed? The media and stuff like that. How are they portraying Black people? That Black women don't need help, or they have a higher tolerance of pain when it comes to the medical field, so they don't need the strong stuff. Um, or Black men don't feel anything and we're aggressive all the time. So I think that it's the mindset that needs to be tackled more than just supplying police officers with non-lethal um, tools, which good, you do that. But what other conversations are we having around your perception of Black people, and specifically with, and especially with the with the police officers, because unfortunately, how often do they come in contact with dangerous Black people?
Mhm.
How often are the criminals and that? How often is that? Are those the people they come in contact with? Black people that are criminals. So then they generalize. It's possible they generalize their view on every Black person. So I just think it has to be a lot more done while providing the non-lethal stuff, um, around thinking. They're thinking around people in general.
I agree. Um, I also think because I think macro, I think big picture. I also, just to be fair and to play the people's advocate, I think that it is unfair to expect someone to be the end all be all. And I think sometimes as first responders, more specifically police officers, I think in today's society, they may be looked at as the end all be all. You need to be the crime fighters, you need to be the mental health therapists, you need to be the social workers, you need to be the teachers, you need to be the mentors. And that is fair to some degree. Um, but I do agree with the fact that if that's the role, the hats that you want them to play, then give them the tools to play it.
Yeah.
I think it's unfair to say, especially when the mental health field itself is constantly changing. Substance abuse was just deemed a mental health disorder before it was criminal. Now it's mental. So I think even in looking at how we've switched from that, I mean, it changes how police officers are to interact with people suffering from substance abuse. So I think when we talk about mental health and the police, I think the initiative that the mayor and the commissioner stated that they're working on now, which is forming some type of triage and a collaboration between police and the Department of Behavioral Health. Um, because when you're thinking, because I'm just thinking personally for myself, I know my field, I know my lane. My lane is mental health.
Yeah.
If you send me out on a call and now it becomes, let's say I do get, let's say I got that call. Let's say I got that call to their house. The minute a weapon, it doesn't matter what kind of weapon it was. The moment the situation became dangerous via a weapon, my job mandates that I call the police. So when the question asks, did the family do um, due diligence in contacting the police? They did. Because granted, if they did call the mobile crisis, that would have been fine. But even as mental health therapists, we are not police officers, we are not lawmakers, we do not come equipped with shields and weapons or anything else. Like you said, we come with the gift of gab and Jesus.
Hallelujah.
Some of us come with Jesus.
So at the end of the day, I do think that there is a partnership that happens on our end when we're called out. And I think what could help is the partnership on the police officers end as well. So when you do come to a call, or when you do get a call that you feel as though maybe mental health ridden, that you are contacting the appropriate resources, which would be the therapists, the social workers, the counselors, etc. But because that does not exist just yet, I feel as though the family did what they were supposed to do, which was contact the police. Because at the end of the day, the police are there to protect and serve. And they needed protection. Walter Wallace needed protection. He did not get that, unfortunately. And the family did not get that, unfortunately, which is now going to be a whole bunch more trauma.
Yeah.
More mental health work. But I do feel as though understanding and like Tyreek said, just having the knowledge of who to call during certain things. We equipped our clients. When you become a client under us, we equipped you with a whole resource list of who to call during the time of a crisis. 911 is on that list. Now, granted, it's further down on the list because we already know you're suffering, your family is suffering from either one or multiple people who have a mental health diagnosis. And so we know how to de-escalate that situation. We have a safety plan for you to de-escalate that situation. If for whatever reason we fail at de-escalating the situation, then we are the police for us even is the end all be all. Call the cops.
Right.
So I think figuring out and sort of negotiating or navigating what that's going to look like moving forward in the city of Philadelphia, knowing that our city um, is just ridden with a lot of mental health issues right now. And for good reason. I mean, everything that's going on in the world, there's all different types of breakdowns. I don't know what Walter Wallace suffered from, but I do know what I see on a regular basis of clients suffering from bipolar, clients suffering from depression, clients suffering from schizophrenia. Um, and it could have been any one of them. It could have easily been any one of them.
Yeah,
So I think just sort of I think a better understanding and there needs to be a better collaboration and partnership
yeah,
could definitely
between the two
help
entities.
between the
Yeah.
two entities to help with situations like this.
yeah. I totally agree, and I love your perspective. It made me think how I'm a gym teacher, physical education teacher, health and fitness. But on some occasions, I am called to sub for English, math, science, history, right? Now, first and foremost, I'm an educator. So my job is
Right,
to educate, right? So you
right,
can give me any information, and my job is to teach it to a population,
right,
which that's what's in my job description. But I specialize in physical education, health and wellness. All right, so I know the pressure when they say, Mr. Brown, we need you to cover math today. I'm like, cool. Now I had to prepare myself. This is not my topic, right? So I can only imagine have being a cop or a police officer, right? You know, you got into a field for a certain reason. You know, you want to stop bank robbers. You know, you want to get drugs off the street.
mm-hmm.
But the umbrella of police, just like the umbrella of teacher, is so far spread that your
Right,
focus, your specialty, what you went into job for, what you're most knowledgeable about, is this. But at times,
Right.
you have to do this, this, and this. And if you're not equipped
right.
or even care about it, you're going to handle it in an inappropriate way sometimes. And in my
Exactly.
profession, I have to do it for a day, knowing life is at stake. You know, if push come to shove, we put on an educational film, right? But
You rolling the
as a,
TV out.
yeah, right, no, we got smart boards now. Where you been?
Oh, sorry, sorry.
But as a cop, it's so much more serious than that, right? It's
Mm-hmm.
not just a couple classes here. It's someone's life could be in danger that you have to address with a certain amount of etiquette, care, professionalism, right? And you have to do it the right way, or it can be a literal, um, it could be a fatal situation.
And
Yeah.
that's interesting you said that because I understand that with the police officers, their umbrella is far reaching,
Mhm.
and they don't go to school to necessarily figure out how to deal with someone in a mental health breakdown or understand the impact their presence can make on an individual.
Right.
I feel like it is the duty of the police department that, for instance, if you wrongfully arrest someone or you know, probable cause and it's wrong or some version of that, if that takes place, my perception is do you what are the steps afterwards? So if you see it's a suspect and you feel like you have probable cause to pull them over and do whatever and then you realize oops my bad, I'm sorry, um I feel like there should be certain steps that should be taken after the fact, such as do you having the individual or family paying for their treatment or trial or therapy because it's very impactful for a young kid to be pulled over or a young kid to be arrested wrongfully or have a gun drawn in their face because you think that they're a suspect but they're not. And then what do you say? Oops, my bad, I'm sorry, and you send them on their way? Like, I get it. You thought you were correct. That's fine. And you made a mistake while doing your job. But what does the correction look like after the fact? It,
Bowie, in my opinion,
Mhm.
my opinion, and this is just a trend that I've been seeing, and recent cases have been showing me this, and I could be wrong, but in my opinion, I think police have the ultimate job security. I think
Oh, yeah.
it's kind of like if I push a kid, I may never teach again,
Hmm.
Mm.
ever, right?
Yeah.
God, and they could be perfectly fine, but the fact that I did that, which is wrong. But if I push a kid, I could literally not teach anywhere ever again.
Right.
But if something happens where a cop murders somebody or, does something absolutely in the wrong fashion, the wrong way, it seems like and in a lot of cases, they get some paid time off until things blow over. Or they
They
that
protect one
stuff.
another. Yeah,
Yeah,
they
like
protect each other.
not, I'm for job security as much as the
Yeah.
next person. Don't get it wrong. But I feel like, some things that thing that's a job security that I think no one has.
Right. No one has that much of a job, that much job security when you blatantly do something wrong.
Right.
It's
Like
really,
you lose the license quick like that, right?
listen, you don't understand that when I was doing outpatient, they told me get my own and I was an intern. They told me get your own insurance so that if a client comes to you or comes to us and say that you did something wrong, that you will be able to protect yourself and pay whatever damages or whatever they're claiming if they take you to court. And in my head, I was saying to myself, if I'm talking to them, I'm not, I mean, I was an intern, so I guess I underestimated my, you know, the power of my words at the time. But in my head at the time, I was saying, if I'm talking to them and I give them a suggestion and they try it and it don't work, why would they be suing me? Like, why do I need this protection? But like you said, our license is at jeopardy all the time, and they'll snatch that thing up real quick. But it's not the same in the police department, and it's sad
Yeah.
because everyone pays them. Like we all pay for their salary.
Yeah.
I should feel just as safe and secure calling you as some of our other brothers and sisters that you know are of a different hue as they may feel calling the police.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And it's not true. It's not the case, and that's why I think it should be they should take way more precaution around correcting their if they wrongfully interact with someone black or it ends in some type of way. They need to do extra to correct it because of the trauma that us as black people have suffered. I mean, I've learned from 13 on Netflix about the police department and how that came to be and what were their rules in the beginning. So if what they said was true and that's how the police department came to be, like you can understand why black people don't trust the cops.
Yeah.
If I trust you and then I after our interaction somebody's dead or I got a gun pulled out in my face and I'm the one that called you, what are you doing to help me after the fact? You can't just tell me sorry because that's not enough.
Yeah. Yep.
Mhm.
Wow. Good stuff, guys. Yeah, that's our time, man. I feel like this was a very, very good conversation. You guys have any final words that you just want to share? Maybe someone who's going through mental health issues or knows someone who is dealing with mental health issues.
I would just say for anyone who, even if you're not at the place to identify it or name it as a mental health issue, but you just know something isn't quite on point with yourself, or if you just want to express your feelings or talk about everything that's going on in today's society, um, continue to reach out. And I know I've had some friends and also some clients that I've had who have said, well, I've tried that and it I didn't get a good person. It wasn't a good fit. I didn't like it. Keep trying until you find that perfect match. Pray on it and ask God to send you or direct you to who can help you. Don't give up. Don't give up. Don't put it aside. Don't put it on the back burner. Don't say, oh, I'll figure it out a different day, because you never know when there may be a break for yourself. You just don't know. These aren't things that you can really put a time limit on. And time is of the essence, and it's definitely urgent that you seek the help that you need and that you deserve.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I would say that in order to, like Lexus said, you don't your symptoms don't have to be the extreme. So what you're experiencing doesn't have to be you see people or you see things other people don't see or you hear things other people don't hear or you can't function to the point you're so anxious you can't function. That does not mean you then seek help. It's strong to realize, hey, this thing is not right. I'm not feeling right about this, and I need some extra help.
Mhm.
There's strength in that, and it's not weak. And I would say for um, Black men is, I think, it more important for us because we're told all the time that we're not supposed to feel or we can't feel, and stuff it down and all the things. But we feel just like anyone else. And sometimes because we're not awarded the same privilege of people of a different hue, when we have a breakdown or are experiencing an intense emotion, we're not seen like we need help. So the moment you can sit down, figure it out, try your best to put a name to it, and ask for help, I think that that's amazing. And I think that you should definitely do it and don't see yourself as weak. I think the people that are weak are the ones that's going around inflicting their pain on other people because they are putting the wrong name to whatever it is they're experiencing for the facade or whatever else. So definitely seek the help, and don't feel ashamed if you have to get some extra help.
And it's fine to do, the self-help stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But remember that, God did make professionals for this.
Right.
So, I mean, it's
Right. Ain't
fine.
nobody self-helping the cure cancer. Ain't nobody reading self-help books for cancer
Well,
or
some people do.
kidneys.
Some people do that.
Well, I'm pretty sure they consulted with someone that has studied whatever they're trying before they decide, I'm just going to take this thing. If your toe is cut off, you're going to the doctor. You don't need someone to tell you to go to the doctor for that and all of the things. So I think we're just saying,
you just totally.
oh well, listen, I'm sorry. I was trying to agree. I thought we was touching and agreeing.
But I was giving my final thoughts.
I was trying to be touching and agreeing. Oh, sorry. Go ahead. You done let Ricky done left.
Because I was giving my final thoughts and then you just interjected.
Sorry, I
you
thought,
took
listen,
it to a whole nother.
Go ahead. Tell the people your thoughts.
What I was gonna say was
well, hold on. It's like
just okay, forget all that. I challenge everyone to become emotionally intelligent.
Come on.
And one thing we do as Black people, we always say, and that's even in your language.
Mm-hmm.
So learning to express and articulate your feelings and how to be curious with one another about those feelings. So instead of saying how you doing, say how are you feeling? Because it invites a different conversation. Because I'm doing fine, I'm doing great, but I may be feeling sad.
Come on, that's good.
Yeah. How are you feeling? And have these conversations. When even if you gotta do the Zoom thing, I know it's getting colder, flu season coming around, Corona's still out here getting people. So if you have to have these conversations by any means necessary, have these conversations. Don't try to deal with it alone.
Amen to that. Well, thank you guys. I feel like we honestly help somebody right now. I feel like a lot of people are going to see this and try to do better for themselves. So I really thank you. I love you guys so much. Thank you guys for being on today. Where can people find you? Don't you guys have a joint Instagram page?
Well, I mean,
no, we do not.
It's not a joint Instagram page?
Listen, I don't post nothing on that thing.
So where can people find you?
If you would like to see me live out the 4 F's of life: faith, family, friends, fun, and food, a lot of times.
You said 4.
That's the 5th one, food.
All right, I was asking.
You can follow me at In Sickness and In Health on Instagram.
I'll be on there sometime.
All right, and I'm gonna put that somewhere, I hope.
Yeah.
Oh, no promises. But thank you guys for coming out. Thank you everyone for listening or watching this episode of Turn to Your Neighbor. Listen, if you like what you heard today, make sure you hit the like button, subscribe to the YouTube page, leave a comment, give us your opinion on what we talked about today, and also let us know what you want to hear next, all right? With that being said, thank you. I'm Ricky B. This is Turn to Your Neighbor, and we will see you next time. Peace.